Hello everyone and welcome back to Let's Play Sonic 3D Blast / Sonic 3D Flicky's Island. Again, depends on what region you're in. In the last part we cleared Spring Stadium and all the bouncy nature it had, and now we're in Diamond Dust Zone, where Shiva is going to destroy us all. No, it isn't Final Fantasy, this is Sonic. So as you might be able to tell by the name, Diamond Dust is the ice level. Certain sections of the map are going to be slippery and slidey, which honestly doesn't hurt this game's controls as much as you'd think, given how sluggish Sonic already is in comparison to some of the other games. There's also the occasional avalanche that pushes you along like it's a flow of water. Even though I'm not getting the special stages in this zone at all, and most of next zone even, because again, I wanted to wait as long as I could to get the last Chaos Emerald to have a better leap-off point to go get the bad ending for footage reasons. I am still showing off where they all are, just for people who want to know or want to max out their score as best they can, I suppose. Now, according to the manual, Diamond Dust Zone's bio is, did you bring your Sonic snowboard? No, we left it on Angel Island. The snowy mountains of Flicky Island are filled with icy snowblowers, frozen paths, and rivers of slush. Oh, so New England. The occasional snowfall doesn't even faze Sonic, so he's from New England, gotcha. But watch out for the snow-spitting snowmen and uncover snowy springs to make your way through this zone. Cool. I swear that one was unintentional. Shit. Even when I don't want to make puns, I still make puns. Now, one thing I do want to talk about real quick is just how bad the load times are in the Saturn version compared to some of the other versions of the game. Because obviously at this point I'm cutting them all out, but you saw even back in part 1, they can get kind of long for the game that this is. And I think the best way to compare that is just to talk about the speedrun times. 3D Blast has two particular categories for the speedrun, with subcategories for each of the consoles this game was on, at least in terms of the major ports like Genesis, Saturn, or Windows. Those two are Beat the Game and Best Ending. Best Ending, of course, being where you get all the Chaos Emeralds. For just beating the game straight, on the Genesis, this game takes just under 26 minutes. On Windows, just under 29. On Saturn, it's just over 36 minutes, so that is a good 8 minutes of loading times alone on that. As well as the world map screen, because I don't think you get that in the Genesis version. But then we talk about Best Ending, where you have even more load times. Best Ending on Genesis is just under 38 minutes long, by Void DTTV. Over on Windows, it's just under 48 minutes long. And on Saturn, getting the Best Ending is an hour and 3 minutes long, just about. So there is a good 20 minutes of loading in there. Hell, I just realized I didn't even notice this until now on the speedrun board. This is one of those games that shows you both real-time and in-game time, because they probably just combine how many seconds you're in each act for from that actual in-game timer. Yeah, that's, ugh. It doesn't feel so bad while you're playing it, admittedly, as it would while you're, say, watching it. Going back to part 1 even was a little bit rough, just because, oh boy. That's one thing I'm really glad about with the current generation of consoles, even if I think the Series X/S has some severe OS problems by the looks. Them finally focusing on SSDs and things of that nature means we can completely change the way games are made, and it's fantastic stuff. With that said, also, graphical fidelity is just getting ridiculous now. I guess talk a little bit off topic for a moment. Oh, actually, no, one very minor thing that actually does kind of bug me about Diamond Dust Zone. When you free the Flickies from certain enemies, namely the snowman enemies, the Flickies are frozen in a block of ice. I forget if it also does this in the Genesis version, because it's been a long time since I got this far in the Genesis version. Probably since I was in early high school, if I had to estimate. But the Flicky will not be collectible while it's in a block of ice. You need to jump on it again. And obviously that takes about all of a second, if even. But you'd be surprised how easy it is to forget to pick up the Flicky just because you're used to collecting it automatically and moving on without it. Again, that is something that technically that director's cut that the Traveler's Tales founder worked on does fix, because it points you towards Flickies you've lost. trying to think if that version of the Sonic 3 stage clear theme was used in something else. If it was probably Sonic R because it's the same composer. But, because the Saturn was actually relatively lackluster in terms of Sonic games. There was this, there was Sonic R, there was Dr. Eggman and Sonic's cameos in Christmas Nights into Dreams. And I want to say there was Sonic Jam, and that was it? Because Sonic Jam is at least an interesting little collection of, I think, Sonics 1 through 3 with some bonus stuff, and technically the first true 3D Sonic. But what else was there? I think that might be it. Yeah, that's really just it. Those three. That's pretty lackluster for a Sega mainline console. Even Dreamcast had more, because that had both adventure games, that had Shuffle. That was it. Wow, on their later consoles, they really kind of underdid the amount of Sonic games, spin-off or otherwise, didn't they? I was about to try and conjecture makes me wonder if once they went third party, they just had more time to develop games since they didn't have to keep all these rights in check for their console releases and such. But honestly, if that is the case, that's probably better documented by people much more in the know than me somewhere else on the internet. So, oh well. By and large, Diamond Dust is probably the zone where if you haven't learned to just use your spin dash to see if you can take out certain obstacles, you should. Because the spin dash is disgustingly effective at taking out certain obstacles in the field. It's just that you also have to charge it up, and that's a little awkward given the camera in this game. Because the camera almost always wants to keep Sonic in dead center. And sometimes it feels like it's just trying to fight your movement to do so in a real unnatural way. Which, mind you, a Sonic game with camera problems, you don't say. It's like that would become a trend once you hit the 3D scene. Though it probably did start getting better from barring certain set camera angles in the game Unleashed, because Unleashed's camera I thought was the first real competent one in 3D. Hi, Knuckles. Bye, Knuckles. I think, if I'm recalling correctly, most playthroughs of this game I've done, this is about the time I put the game down because I've had my fill of the formula of the game by this point, more or less. And it's almost a shame because we're actually relatively close to the end of the game. There's the next zone, which is the last zone in the non-Director's Cut ROM hack versions where you can get Chaos Emeralds. And then it's the last two stages from there. And those last two can fly by real quick due to special circumstances with them, as we'll see when we get to the next part. With that, though, we're already done with Diamond Dust. Not doing Chaos Emeralds mid-stage really shortens the length of some of these stages. At least in the Saturn version, just because the special stages are that much longer. With that said, we're now on to the Diamond Dust fight against Robotnik, who tries his best, I think is the best way to put it. In terms of attack strategy, this fight is very similar to the one back in Part 1 in Green Grove. Eggman tends to stay up high in the air this time around, but instead of dropping a spike ball, he's surrounded by ice cannons that you can slowly destroy by jumping into them as the battle progresses. Whenever you damage him, Eggman rises back up and drops one snowman mine that will detonate if you get too close to it early on, but the more you damage him, the more of them he drops. So you need to watch out for that. With that said, as long as you're keeping your distance, the mines will detonate without much of a problem. So you can just run away from him and then bait him into bait him into getting hit by your jump attack. There we go. If anything, I appreciate this boss for one thing. He technically has a visible health bar due to the cannons. Because otherwise, this fight isn't too bad. Honestly, barring maybe the last two bosses, I feel the zone boss fights get easier the further into the game you get. Because the bouncing around of the spike ball back in Green Grove is awkward. And the night over in Rusty Ruins is kind of hard, just given perspective stuff. But from there on, it's a relatively smooth trek until the second to last boss fight. With that, we're now on to Volcano Valley, my favorite song in the Saturn version. I love how intense this theme is. It actually kind of sounds like the soundtrack of the next game I'm going to be doing an LP of in certain regards. Being the lava level, placed right after the ice level, kind of an odd placement there, but oh well. There are fire-themed obstacles here, be it fireballs or the lava itself. With that said, I believe this is the only place in the game you can find the red shield power-up, which, as its name would imply, is very red and for good reason. It's the fire shield from Sonic 3. It protects you from fire attacks and lava. You can even just walk on it as if it were the weird slush waterfalls in the previous stage. With that said, this is probably my least favorite stage in the game, similar to Spring Stadium in one regard. It's probably the most constrictive in terms of routes, because it's a lot of very thin pathways, though there are some neat little hidden bonuses you can find along the way if you destroy certain blocks that you can jump on top of like these. Now, as for the Saturn version's bio of the game, quite a change from the cool slopes of Diamond Dust. Oh, you're just stealing my jokes from 22 years in the past-ish. Actually, when was this game released? It's 2021 now. This game was released in 1996. 25 years ago. Goddamn. Leap the lava beds and go with the flow. Use the Sonic Spin Dash to activate the elevators and keep an eye out for fire shields to save Sonic from suffering a hot foot. Yeah, you can use your Spin Dash to activate certain elevators, plain and simple. Their hit detection is a little bit odd, because sometimes I feel like I'm on them, but my Spin Dash doesn't actively make the elevator raise, whereas other times I feel like I'm in the wrong spot and it works anyway. It's kind of a problem with this game in terms of, I guess, just games like this in general, not only with isometric platforming, but with pre-rendered graphics in this regard, because sometimes telling where something is in terms of a hitbox can be a little bit iffy. Especially during this rough era of games. Like nowadays, if you get a pre-rendered sprite game, as rare as that is, usually the hitbox is either just the box of the sprite or the sprite itself. Whereas back then, things were a little iffier. In fact, I think the director's cut that the Traveler's Tales founder did actively fix certain hitboxes, made them bigger and smaller when need be. I think that's something I mentioned in the last part. I can't remember. Because since the last part, I kind of went hardy at a party, so to speak, even though I didn't go to an actual party because it's COVID times. Why would you go to a party during this, you insane maniacs? Also, not for nothing, I love this game's invincibility theme. Honestly, I think the best way I can summarize my thoughts on the two soundtracks is I think when it just comes to easy listening, I like the Saturn soundtrack more. It's just easier to look up a song and be like, yeah, this I can jam to while drawing or doing work. Whereas the Genesis soundtrack is much more fitting for a video game? Question mark? That feels very apt. With that said, though, we're now heading into Volcano Valley Act 2. And if you're playing any version that's not the director's cut, because they added Tails and Knuckles into the last two zones of the game, this zone, this act right here even, is your last chance to get any Chaos Emeralds. So if you're only at 6 out of 7, this is your best time to do so. If you're playing the Genesis version, you're even safer off because you can enter this zone with, this act with 2 left and get them no problem. With that said, if you just want to beat the game, don't, and either use a level select, go to the true final boss, or just don't care about getting the good ending period, just carry on. I don't blame you. It's like going through Sonic Heroes again. I can understand wanting to go through the stages, but why would anyone ever want to go through those special stages again? Ugh. The control is so slippery. The music's so annoying, and you have to do it with... Actually, I forget how Heroes handles its Chaos Emeralds. I forget if you have to get all 7 with all 4 teams, or just get all 7 across the 4 teams, so to speak. Like, got numbers 1 through 3 with Team Sonic, 4 and 5 with Team Dark for some reason. Number 6 with Team Rose, and number 7 with Team Chaotix. I have not played through Heroes in a number of years. I think the last time I even touched that game... Ooh, when would that have been? Probably high school. And I think I say that a lot, honestly, nowadays. I probably haven't played this game either since high school, since this year of college, or since I did the LP of it, XYZ. But honestly, that's becoming very true more recently, because I realized just the other day, we're in 2021 now as of recording this, January 28th, by the way. Sorry for the weird little halt on uploads through all of January. I wanted to get these next few LPs done because I was running low on videos. But I realized the other day that this year is the 10th year since I've entered college. Or since I entered high school. God, no, not since college. I entered high school back in 2011, and, that decade went by fast, that decade. God, no. It sounds like some weird mispronunciation someone would say of the Kamen Rider Decade belt. With that said, we're on to the final special stage of the 7, which is probably my favorite graphically in the Saturn version. I love the space theme. And by and large, it's the hardest, but in my eyes, that honestly doesn't mean too much, as, again, I feel they give you enough rings as long as you don't hit too many bombs that you can make it through these very safely. They start getting a bit trickier with bomb placements, especially on the slightly tilted parts of the path pipe, but Sonic 2, this isn't, yet again. And even then, thanks to the little bits of extra bonus rings you can get along the way by going super fast or things of that nature, you can make it through this no problem, I feel. The last time the most recent time I think the half pipe really caused a lot of shit for me probably was Sonic 4 Episode 2, because that is a very similar version of the half pipe to this one. With similar complications, but that boost button means they can add in some slightly timed sequences to get bonus rings, and the timing on that can get pretty tight from memory. I will say, I'm kind of sad that out of all the songs in this game, they never really got revisited in future Sonic games, because a couple of songs from both soundtracks have gotten remixes or references in other songs over the years in the Sonic series. I don't think this particular version of the special stage theme has, and that's a shame because, honestly, this might be one of my favorite Sonic special stage themes in the franchise. It's just so funky, and I love some of that stuff. I love this kind of music. Semi-jazzy, but also just super high energy. And with that, we've now cleared the last special stage. This is Chaos Emerald number 7. With that said, once I get to the end of the game, I will be showing the bad ending first, then proceeding on with the true ending, just so I can show them off in sort of a good order. With that said, though, the annoying thing about going through the Knuckles special stage in Volcano Valley Act 2 is you need to go through a one-way hole back to the beginning of the stage to find him, because he only spawns after a certain point when you go through that hole. So you need to play through the entire stage again up until the point where you left to it, and it's not too far away. That's maybe about a minute most of backtracking, but I figured cutting that out's probably the safest bet here. Just proceed back through the stage, as I did for the past 5-6 minutes or so. This is probably the stage I find myself missing a flicky the most, though, because especially this last batch of flickies, they are hidden up, down, and sideways inside the various bad nicks. So finding the last one can actually be kind of a challenge, I feel. I'm just grateful there's no system where, like, there's 3 branching paths that are equally just huge, and if you miss where one is on one, you're going to have to backtrack through all the others just to find it. They could have been a lot more dickish about where they hid these flickies, so I'm thankful they were as merciful as they relatively were. With that said, we're now on to the easiest boss in the game. Volcano Valley Eggman is in the center of a giant lava-filled arena with steam valves at any of the access points to him that you need to jump over. He can also just fire fireballs out at you that will bounce around and try to follow you. With that said, because of where he's placed, I find it very easy just to jump into him over and over again. The fireballs will hit you, but you should usually outrun them before they can get a chance to hit you a second time. This boss fight can be won at pretty low effort, as you can see. Kind of a shame, Eggman. You used to be such a challenge. But with that, I'm going to need to end this off here. Thank you guys for watching, and in part 5, we're chasing Eggman all the way down to his home base. See you guys then.